2024 was filled with memorable and exciting games that we will reminisce about for years to come, but it also had its fair share of forgettable games. Now, these aren't necessarily bad games, even though some are, but games that, for whatever reason, didn't leave a lasting impact and will be relegated to the void of taken up shelf space. Note this is in no specific order. So these are my top 10 games you probably forgot came out in 2024. At number 10, we have The First Descendant. So The First Descendant is a game that tries to use what made other games such as Destiny and Warframe popular, and it does an okay job. The final product is a familiar game that we have all felt like we've played before. For a game like this to succeed, though, it needs to not only hit the bar, but surpass it. It must break the mold and show that it's worth putting hundreds of hours into. It seems that the limited staying audience that The First Descendant has won't be enough to put this game on the map. It's a shame because The First Descendant could have been memorable, but its lack of innovation and, frankly, unexciting gameplay stop it from leaving 2024. Number 9, we have Funko Fusion. Funko Fusion is like a broken down sports car. Beautiful on the outside, with nothing useful on the inside. Funko Fusion had the potential to be a really enjoyable game, but the gameplay just isn't fun. It's dull, repetitive, and relies too much on the Funko brand. While this definitely helps, it can't make the game anything more than a 20-minute fun gimmick. If you took the IP of Funko out of the game, what are you left with? Not much, and not an enjoyable game. This is why Funko Fusion will be left in 2024, and I'm not expecting a sequel anytime soon. Number 8, we have MultiVersus. MultiVersus had its official release in 2024 and had decent reviews at launch. People praised it for having a great roster and good gameplay mechanics, but it was absolutely bombarded with technical issues. From hitbox issues to connectivity problems, this game had it all. The game was so broken that even the beta was unexpectedly shut down for a complete overhaul. This was not enough though, as MultiVersus still launched with crippling technical issues that chased away the majority of the fanbase. One of the biggest offenses was that the previous issues that had been fixed cropped up again after the full release. At this point, people have moved on and MultiVersus has been left in 2024 with a withering player base. Honestly, I'm not sure if this game stands a chance, but I will say, compared to some of the other games on this list, this one has as best a chance as it can have. Number 7, we have Foamstars. What was supposed to be the next Splatoon, Fortnite, and Overwatch. Foamstars almost instantly flopped. Now, people praised the game for its amazing aesthetics and fast-paced matches, but unfortunately that wasn't enough, because aggressive monetization and lack of content caused this game to fall off almost immediately. It fell off so much so that at release, the game was being sold for $29.99, but as of October 4th, it is now free to play. I'm not generally someone that is glad when a game flops, because it is people's livelihoods and they have spent time and effort making a product they're passionate about. But the fact that this game was paid at launch and then it got relegated to microtransactions, it's just gross. Foamstars has already been forgotten, and I'm not even sure it will make it to see 2026. Number 6, we have Rise of the Ronin. Rise of the Ronin, I would argue, is a pretty solid game. It has a really fun combat system and a really intriguing world taking place in the 19th century Japan. Unfortunately, other games have just done it better. When I think of Rise of the Ronin, I think of one word: clutter. It is overflowing with meaningless missions and a boring inventory system. And while the actual overarching world is intriguing, actually maneuvering through it doesn't provide much. It's an overall basic open world with little things to interact with and not much to explore. The combat system was almost enough to make it worth playing too, but you can't make a memorable game with only one of the two pieces. So unfortunately, Rise of the Ronin will probably be left in 2024. Number 5, Star Wars Outlaws. Remember this game? It was supposed to be the next great Star Wars open world action-adventure game? Well, unfortunately, it was hit with one of the worst plagues of all. It was Ubisoftified. Now, what do I mean by this? It was another bland open world with meaningless filler objectives. And on the surface, the gameplay isn't bad, but it's fairly generic. Cover-based shooting and basic stealth that was popular in 2011. In my opinion, the only reason this game had any traction to begin with was because it had the Star Wars brand to back it. But even that wasn't enough to make it a memorable experience in the slightest. The ultimate reason I would put this as forgettable is, well, nobody talks about it. This is a major Star Wars game that came out last year, and I haven't seen anybody talk about it other than, well, because they didn't like it. Number 4. I have Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2 actually has overall good reviews, currently sitting at a critic rating of 81 on Metacritic. For this, you would think it would be an overall memorable experience, especially with the positive reception that the first game received. Unfortunately, this game just came and went. This is one that is hard to put your finger on. There is no direct reason that this game is being forgotten, and I believe it's the culmination of a few things. One, the game is very short and very linear. Once you finish a 7-hour story, there is no reason to go back. The game was also scarcely marketed before release. I personally remember being surprised when the game was being released. I assumed we still had months before release because we hadn't heard anything. And finally, the game just didn't offer innovation. It was just another cinematic experience that had shallow gameplay and really nothing else. This led to being forgotten and almost immediately thus being added to my list. Number 3. We have Jujutsu Kaisen, The Cursed Clash. This one for me personally hurts. Jujutsu Kaisen, The Cursed Clash came out to some of the worst reviews in anime arena fighting history, and that is saying something. The amazing story is relegated to a slideshow, the gameplay feels tacked on, and overall, the game feels like the biggest cash grab of a game in history. Even the biggest Jujutsu Kaisen fans immediately recognized that no love was put into this game, and that the devs were just looking to ride the wave of JJK hype. I almost didn't put this game on the list because I think it will be remembered for just how bad it was. But it's so dull and boring that, honestly, I think it's better to continue to fade into nothingness. Number 2, Skull and Bones. Announced in 2017, Skull and Bones is a spin-off of the beloved Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Now, unfortunately, this game was plagued with development issues and delays, which I could honestly make an entire video discussing. The final product was finally released on February 16th to overwhelmingly negative reviews. People criticized its bare bones, no pun intended, world, lack of imaginative content, and the worst words to hear about a game: boring gameplay. This led Skull and Bones to be almost immediately shelved. We can see the lack of enjoyment from the new sale prices alone. As of writing this, the game is down to a sale price of $23.99 on Steam. The game launched at $70. And people have gone back to Sea of Thieves, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's anything that will bring people back. This is why Skull and Bones makes the list. Number 1 on my list. And now, before I get into this, I did say at the beginning that this list wasn't in a specific order, except for this one. This one is my number 1, and that is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Yeah, this was 2024. Remember this game? Released on February 2nd to mediocre at best reviews, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League came out to complaints of bland, repetitive gameplay, terrible loot system, and a forgettable live service experience. The only thing going for it was the already built Arkham universe and stellar voice acting. Rest in peace to one of the greats, Kevin Conroy. This game had an almost instant fall-off, and once players completed the story, it was a general consensus that this game was no longer worth playing. Rocksteady tried to pull back with the Joker DLC released on March 28th, but by then the damage was done and people had moved on. For me personally, this was my biggest disappointment of 2024 and a disservice to Kevin Conroy. This game felt like a heartless mess and a game that was more about making money off of the live service, as opposed to continuing the amazing world Rocksteady had put so much time into. That is why this game has been forgotten and will continue to be forgotten for years to come. Those are 10 games you probably forgot came out in 2024. Like I said, some of these aren't necessarily bad games, even though honestly most of them are, but more games that just didn't make a splash and are being forgotten in 2025. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.